What's up, O Wars? We are back for a breaking news. Brian Flores, if some of you guys know him by now, he was the former coach of the Miami Dolphins, and he was fired from after this season and was on track to interview with multiple suitors, such as the New York Giants, and did not get the job as former Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll ended up getting the Giants job. And so, as we know, he was a finalist for the head coaching job of the Houston Texans. And then a huge bombshell came out today where he is officially suing the NFL along with other teams for racial discrimination. This is some big stuff. It's a huge development that's going on as we speak. It is some will look at this as a defining moment in history, as Flores has decided to take things legally and is now suing the NFL for racial discrimination. So, for those who do not have context so far, let me go ahead and kind of give you what he is suing based off of, and some of the allegations are pretty big. So, let me go with this first one so you can see from your screens of how big these things are. So, first one, that he had a prior interview before with the Denver Broncos, and this was in 2019. It says here from his lawyer, it says, incredibly, this was not Mr. Flores' first sham interview that was held only in an effort to comply with the Rooney Rule. So for those who have some sort of less lack of knowledge of what the Rooney Rule is, the Rooney Rule is an NFL policy that requires every team to at least interview one or more diverse candidates. And so this was named after the late former Steelers owner Dan Rooney. So with any type of vacancy, they require at least someone of color to be in the interview process. Now, a lot of people have called a lot of BS on it, considering that organizations already know who they want, who their guy is, and that's very much true. That a lot of organizations know who they're going to hire, but this rule basically says you have to not hire, but at least interview someone of color in order to make the process fair for anybody. All right. So Flores says here is that he was scheduled to interview with the Denver Broncos, but then it says that the then general manager, John Elway, they showed up late, an hour late to the interview. It says they were completely disheveled, and it was obvious that they were drinking heavily. And they said that based on the interview, Flores only interviewed because of the rule, and he felt that the Broncos were never going to consider him as a legitimate candidate. Now, these are very strong accusations, considering that in that same year, they hired Vic. And now, as you know, Vic has been fired from the Broncos. So these are pretty big allegations stemming all the way from 2019, that he felt that the organization, especially the Denver Broncos, were not taking him seriously. Thank you all those who are sharing. Share this video, and let's get a conversation going. All right. So next tweet here we see is that it comes from Simon Clancy. It says that Flores accused Dolphins owner Steve Ross, and this is some pretty big stuff, y'all. That he wanted him to completely tank in 2019 so that they could get the first pick in the 2020 draft. Now, we know the first pick in the 2020 draft was Joe Burrow. And as we know right now, Joe Burrow is on his way to a Super Bowl. But literally, Steve Ross, what he's accusing him of is to completely tank the entire season so that they could get a #1 draft pick. Now, this would be considered tampering. Then also, Ross basically pressured Flores to recruit a prominent quarterback, and it was really his focus was Deshaun Watson. And as we know, Deshaun Watson is currently held up in a civil case right now where he has to get his charges absolved before he can be considered. And that depends whether the league is going to look past that and give him a chance without having to put any type of suspension that could be long lasting on his reputation. Anyways, it says is that he was invited to Ross's yacht, and it says that Watson was on the yacht. So these are some huge accusations that are going on right now. All right. So then it gets even better. It says is that he had a conversation with Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick actually texted him and told him congratulations before he even got to the interview. This is some crazy stuff, y'all. This is what Flores is going after, especially with his lawsuit. He says, sorry, I fucked this up. I double-checked and misread the text. I think they are naming Brian Daboll. I'm sorry about that. Bill Belichick. Man, this is some crazy stuff. He informs him 3 days before the interview that Daboll had already been selected for the job. This is some crazy stuff, y'all. All right, and so as a result, he basically said that he was over it. So let me get a little bit more. Let's get some more context behind what's going on, especially with this Dolphin situation, because this is considered to be league tampering. So it says that when he was recruited to try to get Deshaun Watson, it says is that in the winter of 2020, Mr. Ross invited Mr. Flores into a yacht for lunch. It says shortly after he had arrived, I'm going to go to the next one so that you can see this, is that after he arrived, Mr. Ross told Flores that the prominent quarterback was conveniently arriving at the marina. It says obviously Mr. Ross had attempted to set up a purportedly impromptu meeting between Flores and Watson. And as a result, Flores refused the meeting and left the yacht immediately. And then it says after this situation happened, it says Flores was treated with disdain and he was held out as someone who was non-compliant and difficult to work with. So literally after Flores decides to walk away, after knowing what was going on and how it would be even considered, he said, I'm going to stand for my morals and I'm not going to entertain this. I'm leaving. And it says that there was a reaction where it went against Flores' tenure in Miami. It says from that point forward, it says Flores was ostracized, and it says ultimately he was fired. Someone said is that he was considered to be someone who was difficult to work with. And so literally we see that Flores basically got the short end of the stick. And it looks as if he was treated badly, and it seems like it was really a bad rep or bad case for him as well. So there's also screenshots of the text messages to show is that Flores has screenshots and receipts of what happened between him and Bill Belichick that caused this miscommunication between him thinking that he had a chance at the Giants job when really it really wasn't going to go to him in the first place. So with that being said, y'all, I'm going to take my 2 cents on the issue. This is a very momentous occasion right now in the center of football. Brian Flores literally is making a huge stand, especially knowing is that at any point this could completely derail his chances of picking up a head coaching job at all. As you know, former quarterback Colin Kaepernick did the same thing where he decided to take a knee, and then on top of that, when where he got released, and it was hard for him to get a job, and those were really against him, and called out the NFL for what it was worth, which was a racist organization. He was blackballed. And still to this day, he has not played one NFL snap, even though we know is that he has been given an opportunity, but due to the nature of that opportunity, he decided to turn it down. Brian Flores is taking somewhat of a risk, knowing is that he will probably never get hired by an organization. In one of his tweets, which I don't have with me currently at this time, he says is that he knows the risk that is coming by doing this. Actually, let me pull it up so that you guys can see it, so that you can see it from this perspective. He says, God has gifted me with a special talent to coach. Let me see if I can pull it up so that you guys can see the tweet. Let's see if I can get it up here. If not, all right, let me just go ahead and just read it. It says, but the need for change is bigger than my personal goals. In making the decision to file a class action complaint, I understand that I may be risking coaching the game I love. He continues by saying, and has done so much for my family and me. My sincere hope is that by standing up against systemic racism in the NFL, others will join me to ensure that positive change is made for generations to come. This is a very much a huge stand that Brian Flores is making. And what a better way, as his lawyer has said, is to begin Black History Month by literally standing up against the NFL and how they have perceived as racist practices against Flores and team as well. So listen, this is very loaded, and I encourage you to send your comments in below, like and subscribe this video, where I'll be getting off in a few minutes. However, Flores is making a huge stand, and if any of these things that he is alleging is true, this is a bigger scheme at work, showing how behind the NFL is with inclusivity and diversity, and how the Rooney Rule really needs to be looked at, it needs to be examined, and it needs to be structural changes with all of these organizations and their owners to have this reality that with him not receiving the Broncos job in 2019, where he literally felt as if he was being disrespected at an interview, especially with someone who is supposed to be the future owner of the Broncos, is a very bad look for the Broncos organization, especially with a majority of their players being of color. It is a horrible representation, especially for a city and a state that's especially supposed to be progressive and very liberal. Then with the Miami Dolphins, this is a very horrible example of not just only mismanagement, but also league tampering. At the end of the day, coming in as a coach, I think the main cultural focus is not only building relationships with your staff, your players, and even the organization. I believe as well that you want to at least win, because that builds culture when you win. Winning cures all. It cures all of intangibles. It cures a lot of communicational issues. And most importantly, it brings about a culture that you set in within itself. This season, Brian Flores completely changed my perspective on him, especially when they started off at 1-7 and then going on a 7-game winning stretch where they won the majority of the rest of their games, unfortunately dropping some of their games towards the end of the season. They were close of being in playoff contention. Listen, Brian Flores is the real deal, y'all. He completely changed that entire culture. And then for an alleged report that the owner wanted him to completely tank to get the first pick of the 2020 draft, really just goes to show is that it was definitely a miscommunication from both sides. You have a coach that wants to win. You have an owner that just wants to get a draft pick. So it was definitely some problems. And then to know is that the owner possibly may have had him meet with Watson impromptu against Flores' wishes. And then Flores making the bigger stand of standing on his morals rather than tampering so that he can keep his stability and be good with the owner. It goes to show is that Flores was looking at the bigger picture of his own conscience and his own morals. So kudos to him if that is what actually happened, and shame on the owner if that is what happened. And then after the fact of him walked away, that he began to have this image of being hard to deal with. Shame on him. But then finally, I think what takes the icing on the cake is the situation with the Giants. That if Bill Belichick did text him and accidentally thought that he was Brian Dable and ended up interviewing for a position that he knew he didn't get because they already selected a guy, that was really the icing on the cake. And so I'm very disappointed if these allegations are true. I do see that there is evidence, so I am ashamed on some aspects. But I also do know is that Flores is making a huge stand on what he believes and what he knows. So with that being said, I appreciate your comments. Put them in the comments below. I'll definitely be interacting with you guys. Continue to subscribe to our OWO channel, where we are at the center of not just only sports, entertainment, music, you name it, we are doing everything. And this is the stream where everything resides. Until then, y'all.